Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the Sea Otter exhibit here at the Monterey Bay Aquarium. My name is Erin, and if you're wondering where my voice is coming from, I'm up here on the mezzanine level, back behind many of you. I'm over here waving my hand. Hi there. You're all in the right place at the right time because we are just about to be joined on exhibit by three of our Sea Otter trainers who are here for today's feeding, training, and enrichment session. Now, folks, before we get started, I would like to make sure that everybody has a good view into the exhibit. So, folks, if you wouldn't mind taking a quick look around and seeing if there is anyone that might benefit from taking a step forward, I'd like to do our own version of stadium standing around the exhibit windows up here on the mezzanine so that we can all see over each other's heads and shoulders. Wonderful. Thank you all so much. And folks, if you are down below the mezzanine level, don't worry, you can get a good view from down there as well. Check out the screens that are up above each exhibit window to check out the action that's happening up top, and you'll get that great underwater view as well. Now, again, we are just about to get started, and as soon as our trainers come in, the first thing that the otters are going to do is something called stationing. Now, that means that they are going to go to a particular spot in the exhibit to get started. That gives the otters a way to know who they are working with and lets them know that it is time to start the session. And in fact, here they come. So let me start off with an introduction to our otters. All the way over to the far right side of the exhibit is Ivy. She is our blondest otter. You can see she's got that light blonde fur all the way from her nose down to her belly button and even onto her paws. Then next to her we have Ruby, who is one of our more chocolatey brown otters on exhibit. Then next comes Selka, and then on the far left, just heading over to the windows, is Kit. Now, Kit is our longest otter, so you can tell her by her length when she is swimming next to some of the other otters. Now, we're going to be seeing a lot of different things on the exhibit today. In fact, we've got one of our otters heading up onto the deck. We've got two also up on the deck as well. And each of these behaviors gives our sea otter trainers different ways to work with our sea otters. Now, over on the rock work, we've got a little bit of buoy work going on, or what we call targeting. This is a way to get our otters to focus on a particular spot, and it helps us to do a number of different things. We might need the otters to hold still just for a moment so that we can take a look at their faces, into their eyes, as part of their regular care. Sometimes we can even give the sea otters eye drops while they are doing this behavior, which is what we've got going on over on the right side with Jess, who is one of our trainers. We're practicing some of those eye drop behaviors. Now, all of the behaviors that we will see today are part of our very important animal care here at the aquarium. While some of these might look like tricks that we might have practiced with a dog, even a cat at home, they are actually all geared around the care of our animals. They are very important, what we call husbandry behaviors. Now, we do these during our regular vet exams to administer medicine as needed, but we want to make sure that the sea otters are practiced with these behaviors so that when they do need to happen, the sea otters know exactly what to do. So we practice these behaviors over and over again, even when they don't need to happen, so that, again, those sea otters know just what to do. Oh, and we've got one of our sea otters showing off her wonderful balance back there toward the back, standing up on those back flippers. Now, we'll see them also moving around, swimming through the exhibit, perhaps even diving down to the bottom. And these are all ways for our trainers to keep an eye on the otters and make sure that they are moving well, that those joints are nice and flexible, and that they look like they should. Again, all in the service of caring for the animals. Over on the far right side, we've got a little bit of what we call recall going on. So the trainers might give the otters a toy and then ask them to hand it back to them, which they are doing very well. Sometimes we can even have the otters dive down to the bottom of the exhibit, retrieve something from the bottom, and then bring it back up to give it to the trainers. And we do give them toys, but it is not just for play. Our sea otters are very inquisitive creatures, and out in the wild, they would be eating a lot of animals that are found inside of hard shells. Things like mussels, clams, sea urchins, abalone, and all sorts of other things that they need to puzzle out how to break into. Out in the wild, they would be using tools like rocks or even boat hulls to help them crack into those hard shells. But here on exhibit, we have some very soft acrylic windows, and we found out the hard way that those windows scratch very easily. So instead of giving them those things that are in hard shells, we instead stuff food inside of toys and are able to give those to the otters so that they can, again, puzzle out how to get that food out of the toys rather than breaking open hard shells. So we're going to be seeing, again, still a bit more of those toys going to the sea otters. Now, you might have noticed that the sea otter trainers are giving the otters a little bit of food each time they do a behavior that they have been asked to do. This is what we call positive reinforcement. Now, this works with animals at home if you've ever tried to train a dog, even a cat, and it works on us humans as well. If anybody wants me to help them move, all you have to do is make sure I get a pizza afterwards, and I will move all of the boxes that you want. That is that positive reinforcement in action. So the trainers are talking to the sea otters, asking them to do certain behaviors, as well as giving them hand cues or visible cues to do those behaviors as well. So we have two of the otters following the trainer up onto the exhibit and then getting that little bit of positive reinforcement or that food as the reward for doing that behavior. Now, if a sea otter decides that they don't want to do a particular behavior that they have been asked to do today, that is absolutely okay. Our trainers have a lot of patience, and there is a lot of trust that is built into these relationships. Oh, we've got our two sea otters walking in little circles back there, again, getting that positive reinforcement. So if a sea otter decides not to do a particular behavior, well, we'll back up that training a little bit and make sure to start from the beginning. And if they still decide not to do it, well, that is all right. We just don't give them that little bit of positive reinforcement. We'll move on to something else and perhaps try again in a little while. Now, folks, our sea otters here at the aquarium are not just here to look cute. They have a very important job to do here with us. Now, I talked a little bit about the food that sea otters eat, but some of their other daily behaviors include making sure to keep their fur nice and clean. That fur is what keeps them warm out there in the chilly waters of Monterey Bay, and so it's very important for them to keep that fur clean. So they spend up to 3 or 4 hours every single day cleaning that fur. Now, the practice of finding food, keeping that fur clean is something that they learn from their moms. So the first few months of a sea otter's life is vital to the survival of that sea otter for the rest of its life. But on occasion, sea otter pups do get separated from their moms, and they can't be reunited. But those sea otter pups can actually come here to the aquarium and be raised by one of our ladies back behind the scenes. Our sea otter surrogate moms will teach that pup everything it needs to know to be successful. And then we can then release that sea otter back out into the wild where it can be a part of a wild population, which you can see right off of our back decks all day long. So folks, our trainers have gone back behind the scenes now. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up on this side, but I will be right over here if anybody would like to continue talking about sea otters. So thank you all so very much for joining me, and have a lovely afternoon at the Monterey Bay Aquarium.